I talked to my cousin not too long ago, and I was saying, like, how are things like in the market? Because there was a point in time some of the markets were shut down. They closed them down. People weren't allowed to sell, and our markets are different than the markets in the West. Everything is kind of out in the open. Everything's very fresh, organic. So everything's raw, especially with the meats and fish and poultry and all of that. Everything is raw. And it's very congested. The market that I used to go to is very congested. You are literally bumping and rubbing up against people. So for a while, they shut all the markets down. And she was saying now that at one point there was like a black market. So it was like people were selling things even though they weren't supposed to. And she was like, what else are we supposed to do? How are we going to eat? Because I remember I was in Liberia. They sent out a message saying that people should buy canned goods and packaged goods. The average Liberian doesn't even live off of $2 a day. How do you expect them to go to a grocery store and buy canned goods? That's not a logical, suggestion where you have the majority of the population living in poverty. So you need markets. That's how else are they going to eat? And so she was like, what else do they expect us to do? We can't go to the supermarket and buy canned beans. We need the fresh one. It's cheaper. And so they started out with the underground black markets, and then now people are just like, this is not going to work. So they eventually opened the markets back up again. And she was like, yeah, the markets are back open. People are selling. She's like, but we just have to be very careful. She was like, it's hot, but you see people walking around in jackets and sweaters, protecting themselves so that they don't, rub up against people. If somebody has the virus, they don't want to get their sweat on them. She's like, it's hot, and people are literally burning up going to the markets because they have on all of this protective clothing. She's like, but we have to do what we have to do. We have to survive. We have to eat. So I was like, just as long as you're being safe.